Yeah, I love this area. But to be honest, though, I like can't just say like I love the Lehigh Valley and like always wanted to be here. I mean, I was like a stubborn kid. I like couldn't wait to like get the hell out. To be honest with you, and it's like I think it's a similar story that we hear locally. Mm-hmm. It's like I couldn't wait to graduate. I couldn't wait to go to college. I couldn't wait to move out of my parents' house. I couldn't wait to get out of Lehigh Valley, which I did. Yeah, I moved to Philadelphia for a couple of years, and then. You get there and you're like, well, the Lehigh Valley is actually pretty nice. It's great. It's kind of got everything that I really was looking for the whole time. Yeah. But as like a irresponsible kid, you don't necessarily think that way and you don't want to listen to your parents. And, you kind of have to learn these things for yourself, which ultimately I did.
Welcome to YMI Talking, a podcast where the guests are so good, you'll wonder why the host is even talking. In each episode, you will hear one of the leaders of the Lehigh Valley's vibrant business hub. They will tell you the keys to their success, the mistakes they've made, and what they have in store for the future. Here is the host of YMI Talking, from YMI Insurance, Jimmy Honachik.
That's me, Jimmy Honachik, and I am here with Emily Ellis.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. This is it, right?
Yeah, last episode of the season.
Season 3 is over and done now, and we're on to season 4.
We are.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
When I started this, I wasn't even sure I would get through like one episode. Like actually one episode. And here we are going into season 4.
Yeah, I came on like halfway through this season.
Yes, so Noelle Handoff.
Yeah.
Do you remember who your first guest was?
I think it was Pam Deller, who.
Oh yeah,
she was fabulous.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
An amazing first guest.
Yes, and it's all been downhill since then, unfortunately.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to get better than her, but we've had some pretty good guests.
Alex made kind of like put it in perspective. Alex is our guest today.
Yes.
But he kind of put it into perspective. Like we've had some really cool guests.
We have, yeah.
Hall of Fame football players, the president of the sales, the mayor of Bethlehem. I guess we're doing cool things.
We are. We're pretty cool.
You're pretty cool. I'm just here for the ride. But Alex is also very cool.
Yes.
I love how down to earth he is, and yet how much he's doing, in his business and personal life.
Yeah, I like what he said, that he's just like the reason why people are gravitate towards him is because he's just like authentic and honest. So I agree with that. And
there is something about that, just being who you are. I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in trying to be something else, and Alex happy with who he is, and I think that really resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the man.
He is.
All right, let's turn it over to him. And this is our final episode of season 3.
Yep.
Yes, this is it. Season 3 finale, and we are closing it off on an awesome note. When I said that, Emily, I expected confetti to pop out and boom, 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 lasers. All right, well, we'll talk about that offline. This episode is going to be incredible. We started season 3 off with the president of the YPC, which is the Young Professionals Committee for the Chamber. At that time, it was Krista Baradelli. But we have the new chair. And this is a guy I've known for a few years now. He is everywhere. He's a genuine human being and someone I've been trying to get on the show, and so excited to have him. Alex Knauss, thank you so much for being here.
Jimmy, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. We said this offline. It's like absolutely insane that you're having Alex Knauss wrap up the season 3 on the finale episode here. I was looking at some of your past guests, and there's Andre Reed, there's the owner of Yaco's, which is just like absolutely insane. And then Natalie Dorsheimer, obviously your last guest, who's currently on the YPC board, which is great. And I mean, she is just has more energy than all 3 of us probably could. I feel like she just like has the zoomies.
I slept for 3 days after she came out.
I believe that. But no, I mean, thank you so much for having me. And we've known each other for a couple of years now, and you've really made quite a name for yourself here in the Valley, and it's good to be on.
It's not a good name, but I'm glad there is a name. People know about it. No, you are, like I said, a really incredible person. I believe we met at a chamber event, which does not shock me at all that both.
Which one?
That's a great question. Yeah. For me, I think it was a get the most out of your membership thing. Okay. And then it was, we went up to, what's the restaurant at the top in Bethlehem?
Zest.
Thank you, Zest. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't actually have to remember because it was like a little bit of a joke because there's like a million chamber events.
Yes,
so
yes.
I don't even like. It's like what event was I at last week? I couldn't tell you.
Well, it meant a lot to me.
Well,
Alex.
no, I appreciate that.
But there's always events going on. We're always at them. How do you find the time? How do you figure out what's important? How have you kind of prioritized that aspect of your life?
To be honest, Jimmy, it's exhausting. Really, I mean, like at face value right now, I'm running on a bunch of caffeine. I think it's hard to be in a lot of places at the same time, but I think they're important places to be. I think being involved in the community is extremely important. The Lehigh Valley has awarded me a lot of opportunity here, and I feel as though that I am in debt to not only some of the leaders here in the Lehigh Valley, but also the community. So I think it's important for me to show up and do my part and volunteer and contribute to something that's kind of bigger than myself.
I love that. And I think a lot of people sort of feel that way. And you are born and bred Lehigh Valley, right?
Yes. So I've pretty much lived here my whole life. I grew up locally in Center Valley. My parents still live in the same house.
Where in Center Valley?
So
because that's where I am.
Yeah, I'm like kind of right on the border of like Southern Lehigh and Saucon. So
Okay.
Like Black River Road.
Yep.
Grew up there, went to Saucon Valley. I was just telling you offline also, like great experience at Saucon, really close with a group of guys from high school and girls. We were the first senior class to go kindergarten through 12th grade in the same school district. So really blessed, have a great, strong, group of friends. We're still very in touch. A lot of them, don't necessarily live locally anymore, but their presence is definitely felt. And I love this area. But to be honest, though, I like can't just say like I love the Lehigh Valley and that like always wanted to be here. I mean, I was like a stubborn kid. I like couldn't wait to like get the hell out. To be honest with you. And it's like I think it's a similar story that we hear locally. Mm-hmm. It's like I couldn't wait to graduate. I couldn't wait to go to college. I couldn't wait to move out of my parents' house. I couldn't wait to get out of Lehigh Valley. Which I did. Yeah. I moved to Philadelphia for a couple of years. And then, you get there and you're like, well, the Lehigh Valley is actually pretty nice. It's great. It's kind of got everything that I really was looking for the whole time. Yeah. But as like a irresponsible kid, you don't necessarily think that way and you don't want to listen to your parents. And, you kind of have to learn those things for yourself, which ultimately what I did.
And I read an article recently that was basically that. And the Lehigh Valley benefits because people do move away and they go and they get these great experiences from elsewhere, whether it's Chicago or LA or New York, and they develop themselves professionally, but then they do realize that it's such a great place and they come back and now they're bringing all of that here to the Lehigh Valley. And so we're better for that experience.
Yeah. And I think what's also really cool about the Lehigh Valley is it's not this massive city. But it's not small either.
Right.
It's like kind of like the perfect medium. It's a city in which like a person like Alex Knauss could have a name. Whereas I don't know that I'd have that ability in a bigger city like the Philadelphias or especially the New Yorks. Nobody would know who I am. Yeah. But the Lehigh Valley is just the perfect size to where you can really build out a strong foundation and then your personal brand. Kind of just here locally, which is awesome.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about, all right, you finish up at Saucon and now we know where you are. How do you get from there to there?
So I graduated from Saucon. I was never a good student. Mm-hmm. I just didn't necessarily apply myself throughout high school. So, my parents knew that. They were like, you're, not going anywhere. You're staying at home. You're going to community college, which by the way, Northampton Community College, one of the best to this day, like one of the best college experiences I've had.
It's so good. And awesome. I don't talk about it enough on here, but I think it's really an underrated gem for the Valley.
And a lot of their professors are like adjunct professors. They're working full time in their respective industries. Mm-hmm. They're teaching part time, in the evenings, and just a great experience. So I go to Northampton, still not a great student. I really wanted to go to Westchester. I wanted to transfer to Westchester after 2 years at NAC. I didn't get into Westchester. I got into Temple. So I was like, all right, I'm going to Temple. Yeah. I went to orientation, at Temple, going to Temple, bought a bunch of swag. Came home that day, and my acceptance to Westchester was on the table, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to Westchester.
Yeah.
So I went to Westchester, spent a year there. I think at the time, when you're looking for like high paying, I was like I don't even know how old I was, 20 at the time. I was like, highest paying jobs for college graduates.
Right.
It was like computer science, software engineer. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's what I'm going to do. I never excelled in math. So I went to Westchester for computer science and very quickly found out that was definitely not for me. Struggled a lot. Ultimately, after a year at Westchester, I basically failed out. Kind of hit the bottom, came home, went back to my parents' house, which was like devastating for me.
Yeah.
I enrolled back at Northampton Community College. I was like, I have like 2 classes left to get my general studies degree or whatever it was. And I was at the Promenade shops, and I was with a buddy. A couple of my buddies were in a similar situation. We all ended up kind of back at community college at the same time. And I was like at the Fresh Market. And we were just going to get like a part-time gig just to kind of like get through the rest of college. And I saw like kind of Capital Blue, like the skies kind of just like opened up. I saw like Capital Blue. It was like a new thing in the Promenade. And my dad had like an insurance background, and I called him up. I was wearing like gym shorts, and I was like, hey, like insurance, Capital Blue Cross. I was like, what is that? He was like, would that be, good for me to look for an opportunity? I was like, I pulled up my phone. They had an internship that was posted. I was like, should I just go in? He's like, well, I don't know. I was like, I'm wearing gym shorts. He's like, yeah, probably not. So I went home. I applied. It was so in the insurance industry, which I'm sure you're familiar with, like health might be a little bit different. But
we call it the cool industry.
The cool industry, which is crazy. So I mean, like, it's nice that there's another insurance person here.
Yes,
that we could just talk about how cool insurance is.
Yeah.
It's like basically what I wanted to do my whole life. I just grew up and I was like, I want to sell insurance.
Everyone does. Yeah. And then they give up on their dreams at some point in their life.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So open enrollment is in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Busiest time of year. Most groups renew, 12/1, 1/1. And so Capital had an internship posted for the fall. And most college, all college kids, with the exception of pretty much myself, are back at school during that time. Right. So I apply for this internship. I show up. I'm the only person that applied, so they were basically forced to hire me. And it was a 3-month internship. My bosses there, Rose and Heidi, they're like family to me at this point. Like, I feel like they like raised me.
Yeah.
Cause like, at that age, you still like don't necessarily want to listen to what your parents are saying. So then like, I feel like they kind of like raised me. They were like my work moms. Like I still I just popped into the store today to say hi to Rose. But my internship was like 3 months long. They were like, look, we don't have a job for you. I was like, all right, whatever. And then like, they just never got rid of me. I ended up interning there for a year. I was like, well, at this point I might as well go get my health and life license, which I did. And all of a sudden there was like a job available. So I just kind of moved into an entry level sales job down at the retail store on the Promenade. And that's kind of really where it all started for me. And it's been great.
That's an amazing story. I feel like we do so many of these interviews and they follow the traditional path, right? Where it's, I graduated college, I got the first job, I got the second job, and now here I am in my established profession. Yours could have gone in so many different directions, right? You failed out of college, you're back home. You can see that going in any direction, and you found a path that made sense. Almost felt like it was destined, just the way that happened.
It was a lot of luck.
Yeah.
And even at the time at Capital, like I was young. I was so young. I was 21 years old. Most of my buddies were still in college, and all of a sudden I had this like full-time gig.
Yeah.
Which ultimately, like I said, it was truly like the best thing that ever happened. I ended up going back to Penn State Lehigh Valley, which was across the street. Mm-hmm. I kind of found it allowed me to find a little bit of a passion for school. Mm-hmm. I was like, ooh, healthcare, like this is really interesting. The triple aim theory, like increasing access to care, increasing quality while reducing costs. I was like, that's fascinating. Like I want to that's like the $1 million question that nobody can solve. But I was like, this is great. Like I want to be a part of this. Yeah. So I graduated from Penn State, continued to work at Capital. And here we are now. Still at Capital Blue Cross, and it's been incredible.
Talk to me about Capital, kind of what makes them unique, what has kept you there and kind of in love with Capital?
The people. Yeah. The people at Capital are unlike a lot of the people, I mean, they're like, I've met, the Lehigh Valley has so many great people. Capital has a lot of great people as well. It's just been an extremely excellent organization to work for from top to bottom. The flexibility at Capital is incredible. Just giving, we had this conversation offline, like the ability for young professionals like myself, just giving them the ability to go out and do things like, I mean, it's like, this is my first podcast, but like to be on a podcast or to go out to chamber events, to get involved in the community. It's just a really unique opportunity where I get to go out and not only represent Capital Blue Cross and promote the Capital Blue Cross brand, but I also get to go out and promote the Alex Knauss brand, which I think a lot of people might not have the opportunity to do at their respective organizations.
Yeah. And that's great. There's some sort of autonomy there.
Yeah.
The Alex Knauss brand is pretty awesome. Talk to me about where it is at this point. You could be at, Capital and just kind of sit behind your desk and do your thing, but that's not who you are. So who is Alex Knauss and what's the brand?
I like to get out. I like to be present. I like to show up for the community. Like I said, this community has awarded me a lot of opportunity. So I do feel in debt a little bit to the Lehigh Valley, which is why it's easy for me to get out and volunteer and serve on boards and put the time in on committees. And really that's kind of where like the YPC comes in. It's just been such a incredible experience for me. It's people when they hear that I'm the chair of the Young Professionals Council, I mean, it's people think it's a big deal. I'm like, look, like I'm like the guy that's the chair. It's really, for me, it's cool to bring a bunch of different people together, like that are a lot smarter than me. A lot, some of them a lot cooler than me, some of them better looking than me, a lot more creative than me. And I think that's like really what's important. It's like, I'm just surrounded by so many great people that are better than me in really a lot of aspects, which makes my life extremely easy.
That is 100% my secret as well. Like I just surround myself with people who are better than me, which is a low bar. It's pretty easy to do, but it still makes it a better organization. 100%.
Well, like, a lot of people I think that don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, my ego isn't that. I mean, it might be a little big sometimes, but it's I think that's, kind of key to being a good leader is to surround yourself with people that are better than you. Mm-hmm. As far as the Alex Knauss brand, what else do we got? Like, I'm outside of, the professional space, like I'm like an off the grid kind of guy.
I've noticed because I follow you on Instagram and you're not off of Instagram, but it's very clear that you are off the grid while you're outside of work.
Yes. So I'm a big fly fisher. Yeah. So I will kind of do.
Can I ask? Yeah. I've always thought I would love fly fishing.
Yeah.
Do you have to be like patient and quiet? Yeah. I don't think I would be.
Not your thing.
Yeah. No. I enjoy being like peace. Yeah. But I will say, since COVID, it's like the sport's kind of like blown up, and now I like go down to like the little Lehigh, and there's like 20 people. Yeah. There. I'm like, what the heck? So like, now I gotta like. I have a group of buddies. We go on these kind of elaborate fishing trips with. We could be like, last year we went to Maine. We hiked into Baxter State Park. And we backpacked like 10 miles in. Stayed there for like 4 days. And, in a lean-to. I don't know if you know what a lean-to. Yeah. Some people were fascinated by that term. It's basically like a shelter that's just like open. It's covered on 3 sides and it's open. We slept there. Yeah. 4 nights.
What time of year?
Summer.
Okay.
The most beautiful scenery probably I've ever seen. The stars. I mean, like the sky is, you could just like look up and see a shooting star at any given moment. There's like moose roaming around your camp and in the water with you. It is just like, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. I like being outside. Mm-hmm. Now I did spend some time in Philadelphia, and I think that kind of ties into like what drew me back to the Valley. I like to, well, first of all, I like being able to like use a car and have a car. I also like to be able to access things like, golf courses, streams, parks, things that are accessible in Philly, but had more of a time restraint.
Yeah.
So, I felt like, if you wanted to go golf in Philadelphia, I mean, you're just committing an entire day to doing that.
Right.
Which in the Lehigh Valley, I could go down to Bethlehem Muni 5 minutes away, get a tee time and play some golf if I wanted to. So, the Lehigh Valley just has so many things that are so accessible, whereas in a city you might not have that. Yeah,
no, I agree 100%. Your board experience, you were talking a little bit offline, you are now the chair of the YPC. Talk to me about the path to get there. It was not linear.
Yeah. I mean, similar, kind of a similar story. So, when I moved into, I spent some time at the retail store at Capitol, and I eventually moved to the commercial sales team. And, being on the commercial sales team at Capitol, I mean, like I said, the people are just like, you're surrounded by so many high performing people. I'm like, how on earth am I ever going to, stand out in this room of, 50 commercial salespeople? A lot of people sat on boards, and I was like, all right, and I'm like 25 years old. I was like, I need to be on a board, or 26, whatever it was. I was like, I need to get on a board. I didn't know anything about board service, like nothing. I just started I was online. I was applying to all kinds of different boards. I think I wrote a letter to the Bethlehem library. I was like, hey, I put this really well-written letter together, wanted to be on the board, and nobody ever got back to me. It's a big surprise. And, I stumbled across the Young Professionals Council. And, to be honest, at first I was a little skeptical. I was like, sounds a little dorky and lame. And I don't really have interest in making new friends. And I was like, whatever. So I applied, I sent in an application to be on the board, and, similar story. They basically reached out to me. They're like, who are you?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm Alex. And they're like, hey, there's, why don't you start coming to events, or, you can get involved in some committee work. And I was like, wow, that's sounds like a great idea. So my first event I went to, it was at Seven Sirens, and it was called a yappy hour. So you could bring your dog, which is great, because I had a 1-year-old dog at the time, a golden lab. And I took him to this event. I met a lot of great people. That's where I had met Krista, and I just really just started showing up after that. I was like, I had a great time. I met a lot of cool people, collected a lot of business cards, joined the events committee, started talking about, upcoming events, planning them with the chamber. And I was having a great time. And, next thing you know, the chamber, probably 4 or 5 months later, they reached back out to me and said, hey, are you still interested in being on the board? I was like, yeah, absolutely. So, I was added to the board, and really the rest is kind of history. Krista has been, and during my time on the board and through today, a huge mentor for me, not only personally, but also professionally. And she kind of, twisted my arm and didn't really give me a choice when, she asked me to step into the vice chair role, as she was going to serve as past chair. And it's been incredible.
That's awesome. It's funny, because when you think of you versus Krista strikes me as the exact sort of person who would chair the YPC, right?
Yeah.
And then you, like you said, you're kind of off the grid. Yappy Hour and Alex Knauss don't necessarily sound like they go together, but I think that's the beauty of the YPC, is that it is bringing people of all different backgrounds. And in that way, you are almost the perfect sort of person to head it, to kind of give it a more diverse view.
Yeah, it's, we really try to be this almost melting pot, this inclusive place kind of for everybody. We recognize that the Lehigh Valley is one of those places. I mean, there's so many massive employers that, the economy here in the Lehigh Valley is booming. I mean, Eli Lilly's built a massive facility. You got to bring a ton of jobs here, and with that comes, a lot of times younger people from other areas. So, the whole purpose of the YPC is to give people like that an outlet, or a place to come, a place to feel comfortable, a place to meet some new people. And, like I said, I really had no interest in making any friends. I was, honestly, that's just the type of guy that I am. And now they're some of my best friends. There's a lot of people that are on the board or involved in the YPC that are some of my closest friends now, after 4 years, which I would have never expected.
And something you said there kind of struck me and stood out to me, which was, you got rejected from the YPC. And they said, get involved. And that's a theme, I think, whether it's the chamber or anywhere really, is don't ask for things, right? Like, I want to be on your board. If you're not willing to give and get involved, would you say that that is your experience as well?
That is my experience pretty much across the entire Lehigh Valley.
Yeah.
I think like the Lehigh Valley is, I can't remember, I don't know if we said this offline or at the beginning of the interview, like the Lehigh Valley is just one of those places, like you get out of it what you put in.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could put a ton into this place and it's going to reward you. Or you can kind of sit on the sidelines. I mean, there's no harm, no foul in doing that.
Yeah.
People are different, but the Lehigh Valley is truly, you know, kind of like a little local land of opportunity here. There's so much here. I think really what's cool is how accepted like the young professionals are in this area. Like, I don't know, you know, I follow like some other young professionals accounts in different cities. I don't know that that's the case. Like for us, you know, we have our leadership summit tomorrow, which is like our annual pretty big marquee event. And every single year, I'm just amazed at some of the biggest leaders in the Lehigh Valley that are willing to take 4 hours out of their day to come and spend time to talk to, you know, kind of the next generation of leaders. I think that's really important. And it's just not something that you see all the time. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, people like yourself, where you run an organization, and, you know, Emily here, you know, she had mentioned offline as well, like, you know, her second day on the job, you're like, hey, you should go to this YPC event.
Yes.
And, you know, like that's to you, that seems common or easy, but I just don't, that's not necessarily the case. I think on a broader scale, you know, a lot of young professionals like have to earn their seat at the table. Mm-hmm. You know, we're not always, you know, welcome. You can't just go to a chamber event, you know, and have a cocktail at 12 o'clock or whatever, you know, whatever the case is. It's something that's earned, which I think there is a place for that, but just giving somebody like Emily the ability to get out, meet new people, get involved in these events, especially for somebody that isn't from this area originally, I think is huge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's because other people know how to run a good organization. And I'm just winging it here.
You've done, I mean, look, since you've taken this over, and I'm sure your dad did an excellent job here, you know, just kind of building the foundation. But I mean, this is big. You're big time now.
I appreciate that. I don't take compliments, so we're going to keep moving. Thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we are sponsored by Z-Craft, who you know very well, actually.
I do know very well.
They are in the Capitol building or office in the Promenade.
They are. The amount of iced Americanos that I've had from there, a lot.
Yes. Yeah. As you go there and, you know, you get a coffee, you get a nice Americano, and you have a sip. But sometimes sip happens and things don't go the way you want them to. I think I know where you're going with this story, and this might be our best ever sip happens.
I don't know about that. So I was prepped. I was PR trained for this question. I knew it was coming. You know, I talked to Natalie. I listened to her podcast. You know, sip happens, and I've thought about it for a while. I'm like, what's appropriate to tell on a professional podcast where sip happened? And I just
so you know, Krista did not tell something appropriate. We bleeped the whole thing out.
I got cut out, which is hilarious. So I was like, man, I really couldn't think of anything. And I'm getting in my car this morning, and I have my coffee, and I have a Jeep. So sometimes it's like, if you really don't commit to like really like lunging your full body in there, like, you know, sip could happen. And I dumped my coffee on my entire leg. So, and I have like white pants on. So I didn't even change them. I was like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Sip does happen. And it was kind of just, the timing of it was a little bit insane, considering I didn't have a story to tell. And then
it's coffee. It's an embarrassing story. You brought the receipts.
Yeah,
on the season finale.
Pair of pants. So I'm really hoping that I can get the coffee stain out of these pants.
I believe in you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, one thing I wanted to hit that we didn't talk about, you know, it goes back to maybe the resilience, which we haven't talked about as sort of a part of the Alex Knauss brand. We talked about, you know, you had basically failed out of college. You're back home to where you are today. You are getting your MBA at Lehigh. I mean, do you sit back and kind of take a little bit of pride in what you've accomplished?
Yeah, it has really been cool. I mean, even the Lehigh thing was we had a YPC event at Lehigh.
Yeah.
They hosted the YPC. It was just kind of like, I was like, I have no interest in getting an MBA. And, I had like 2 old fashions, and, I started talking to their director of admissions. He's like, you should apply. And I was like, do I need to upload my transcripts? He's like, yeah. And I was like, oh boy. So it was kind of like, almost like, I like to be challenged. And it was kind of like a challenge for me. I was like, I'm going to see if I can get into Lehigh. Like I could have never gotten into Lehigh for undergrad. Yeah. Impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to get into Lehigh. And, I had to get a bunch of letters of recommendation. I think ultimately at the end of the day, they're just happy to take my money. But I was like, I wasn't even sure if I was going to get in. And then next thing you know, I got in. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going back to school. And that's kind of what I've been doing. It's been great. Yeah. I know this area is like, there's no shortage of great universities. There's Muhlenberg, which Emily had gone to. There's DeSales. There's Moravian.
Yep. Cedar Crest, Lafayette.
Yeah. I mean, it's just insane. There's so many of them. And this headset, man, it's killing me.
I'm
like the world's smallest head. So
guests have asked for adjustable headsets forever, and I have not given in to the demands. I'll say it now. I'm an awful host. I just don't take care of my guests. I run a mean ship here, basically.
This is great. But to your point, there's some pride in that. I think my whole brand or demeanor typically, I'm really sarcastic, and I'll like kind of demote myself, at the expense of like a joke or something. But it's I do take pride in that, and I do recognize that there is hard work that's gone into that. You do have to show up. You have to when you commit to something, you have to do it. Like I said, I don't know why the heck I'm on this podcast. You're asking me to be on this podcast. Insane. It's uncomfortable for me to be in this environment. I certainly haven't been. It's uncomfortable for me to get up and speak as the chair of the YPC. But at the same time, I had a boss at one of my first bosses at Capital, and he always pushed me into uncomfortable situations because he wanted to see me grow and develop. And and I think once you kind of recognize that's what it is that you're doing, it makes it way easier.
And I think that is really important. You go back to the YPC event I sent Emily to, where she was like, I don't know anyone there. Yeah. And I was like, I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we were talking before you came in. Like, she's like, I was texting a couple of people. They're like texting me, like, are you going to leadership summit tomorrow? Like people that she's met, which is really cool for me to see. I need to do a better job. I'm a little bit of an introvert. I need to do a better job. When I first showed up at the YPC, I didn't know anybody either. Now I know a lot of people. Yeah. And it's like, now, I find myself getting comfortable and like gravitating towards people that I already know, which I shouldn't be doing as the chair of the YPC. I think I need to be a little bit more present and proactive and really making an effort to meet more people. And
I love that.
And talk to them about, what it is the YPC is and really kind of what it's done for me.
That's great. Anything we didn't hit that you want to hit? Anything, kind of what's next for you?
What's next for me? I don't know.
Yeah.
I like 5 years, 10 years. I don't know. I'd like to retire at Capital Blue Cross. I really would. I think Capital Blue has been a great organization. The people have been so good to me. I kind of feel like in debt to them. They've put me through school, put me through another grad program, which is just like incredible.
Yeah.
They've been so good to me. I'd love to be there forever. Also, if I could like redo life, honestly, like I have like a crazy passion for cooking and food.
Really?
Like a food truck, like a cheeseburger food truck.
Yeah.
Like that sounds freaking sweet.
Yeah.
That sounds sweet. I don't know if that's like in the cards. I've dabbled with like, the very beginning stages of a business plan and like trying to come up with a name, but
that's literally what I'm doing right here with Knauss. I'm trying to do something.
It's hard. Trust me. I've thought about it for like way too long. And it's like, I get like really hung up on stuff like that. Like I can't that's like the least.
Well, I can't have a truck because I can't come up with a name.
That's like the most important part.
Right.
Is the name.
Yeah,
and like, if I don't have the name, like I can't proceed with anything.
Yeah.
So until I get the name, the idea really isn't going to go anywhere. Yeah. But one of these days, maybe I'll get a name. Maybe I'll have a food truck and maybe I'll be like slanging burgers in Lehigh Valley.
We love food people here.
Yeah.
So we cannot wait for that. We will have you back on the podcast then for sure.
Awesome.
You have to bring burgers though.
Oh, I'll bring in like the black zone. I don't know, maybe a little bit of fire hazard in here, but
yeah, we've got insurance.
Yeah. Health product too.
Yes. All right. Anything else then?
Oh, I think that's it. Are we done?
We're
I
at.
just babbled for 30 minutes.
It was awesome though. I mean, you kind of symbolize everything that I wanted this podcast to be. You are Lehigh Valley. You are out there in the business community. You are chairing the young professionals. Like you're truly the definition of what we want on this podcast. So you do so much for the community. And I'm just going to take a minute to thank you for everything you do.
Well, thank you. And, like I said, I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate what you do for this community. And, you certainly act as a good role model for not only, people like myself, younger, the next generation, but, your staff. And that I think that's, you're doing a great job. And it seems like your employee, Emily was talking very highly of you and YMI.
I pay her before every one of these. Yes. We will cut this because I don't take compliments.
Okay. I'm bad at taking those too.
Yeah. No, Alex, thank you so much. Again, thank you for everything you do. And thanks for coming on here, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the YMI Talking podcast. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more content from amazing personalities in the Valley, please subscribe, leave a rating, and drop us a quick review.